Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm your host, Darrell Scott, and together we will dive into the lives and careers of the jazz legends who have left a rhythmic imprint on the world. Be prepared to reminisce on the highs and the lows of their musical journey and the trials that sculpted their timeless musical gems. We'll preserve the legacy of these extraordinary maestros and find inspiration in the melodies of their lives. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Now, let's get to the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I am Darrell Scott. Today, our guest, we're going to get to the music, but there's another thing that we'll talk about. Not only is he a musician, he can come by your house and fix your plumbing.
Yes.
It is remarkable the number of artists that we've talked to, and I won't mention names. We have a deputy sheriff. We did a dentist last week. We have teachers. We have engineering, tech people. So to me, it's remarkable that you can somehow manage your time and do all this. And that's the thing that gets me. We're going to talk about time management because I think that's the biggest concern that people have is how do you manage to record your music, to practice your music, yet and still come by and take care of the plumbing at my house. I don't necessarily understand it, but we'll get to that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Melvin Pierce. Melvin, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing today?
I am fine, man. It is a pleasure to talk to you. We've been through a lot of hurdles, but we're going to make this work just fine.
And thanks for inviting me.
What? Let's talk about the beginning of your music career. What? What made you decide to get into music?
Uh, it's so funny because that's a good question because it was females. We were growing up in New Orleans. We noticed there was two people who had females. It was the musician and the football players.
I get it now.
So it was one or the other. I was not this size I am now. And it's funny because when I first moved to Atlanta, a lot of people thought because I hung out with a lot of Atlanta Falcons players, they thought I was a Falcon player until they found out, nah, this man is a musician and he don't know nothing about football. Never played football in my life.
Mm.
Anyway, some friends was telling me, it's like, hey man, listen, we want to form a band. And I already had two of my brothers playing music already, one playing drums, the other one playing sax. So I said, okay, well, why not? What do y'all need me to do? Because I'm thinking, okay, I just want to just hang around the band, because
Right.
it was there. So that's all I wanted to do was just hang around the band. And they was like, nah, man, we need you to pick up on an instrument. So I said, what instrument would I be able to pick up on that I would even understand? So I knew I couldn't be a drummer because my brother was already playing drums. So
Right.
I went to my mother and told her, I said, hey, listen, a friend of mine is playing the trumpet in the band, and I played his trumpet, and I kind of liked the way that instrument felt. And so she said, okay, well, at that time, I don't know, we had Worldline's music stuff. So you used to be able to rent instruments. I don't know if it's even still like that now. So rather than having your parents keep buying instruments, you better go and rent it out for a couple of bucks a month or whatever, just to
Right.
try out and find out what you would be interested in. So she got me a trumpet, and that's where it actually started, and wound up in the band. And uh, um, half of the problem is that I was still more or less worried about the women than worried about so a
Okay.
lot of my friends will be like, hey man, listen, you got to learn your parts. And I'm thinking like, what parts we referring to? Because last I checked,
Don't do that.
it just was, when you're young,
Right.
a lot of jokes. You're having a lot of fun out there. And not to talk about, I was only 14 years old then. So I was
Right.
14, either 14 or 13, one or the other. So I was still young and everything, man. And, you know, we, you know, playing around these different schools and different areas and stuff like that. And by then, I did take the trumpet a lot more serious and started to learn, the songs and stuff like that, melodies and everything. And that's sort of like what started me to, got in, took the trumpet to the point where I was like, you know what? I think I like this instrument and stopped focusing on the females and started
Right.
to more on my acts and not, wanting to really, really, truly love this instrument the way I do now.
So once you got past that, who were your, I'll call them trumpet idols? Who were you listening to as you were growing up as a 13, 14-year-old?
Okay, now, okay, my mother at that particular time, okay, now a lot of people, the song Tell It Like It Is? A lot of people have rewritten it.
Neville Brothers.
Never, well, my stepfather, which is my brother father, Lee Diamond is his name. So Lee Diamond wrote a lot of hits for a lot of different people. So my mom
Mm-hmm.
was married to him, and something went on where they wasn't able to sort of like, keep their marriage going or whatever. So to make a long story short, we uh, loved the music because my mother would always have a whole lot of different kind of music being played inside the house because she was married to a musician. So she really loved the music a lot. So I never forget, my mother had played this song, and it was da da, and it was Tom Browne.
Yes.
Like Jamaica. I never look. I never
Funkin' for Jamaica.
funky for Jamaica, man. And that song came on, and that really started my wheels to turning to really liking that kind of music of because we used to hear like the Isley Brothers, Earth,
Mm-hmm.
Fire, Commodores, and Stevie Wonder,
Right. Yes.
or Paul McCartney. Because my mother listened to Sting, she used to listen to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That if when I say music, we had Little Richard, anybody you want to name, but the key was to me was a friend of mine's named Jarvis Hawkins and another friend of mine's Lebo. Now these both guys was jazz musicians to the core. They both played the trumpet, and they were like, "Hey man, have you ever heard of like Lee Morgan, Clifford
Yeah.
Brown, Thelonious Monk, stuff like that?" And I was like, "Who the world are those guys?" I thought
Right. Yep.
my mother never played none of that.
Right. I can believe it.
So I was like, so let me, bring because at that time, like most people household, we had 8 tracks and cassettes and albums. They brought an album over to the house and it had some Lee Morgan on it. And I was like, oh man, I said, man, I've never heard a trumpet player play like that. What a world, and I'm being raised in New Orleans where you hear jazz all the
Right.
time, but which means you would have thought that I would have heard of these guys. But of course, my mother, because like I said, at that particular time, still living at home and everything, she just didn't play that particular kind of straight ahead jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys introduced me to that style of music. And then that's when it's just my ear just exploded in terms of, listening to the different ways that they, phrase and way they play
Mm-hmm.
the instrument and Clark Terry, these guys, Wynton Marsalis,
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Blanchard. Man, when I say, a whole heap of guys that was playing
Right.
just really, really, really made me thought about the trumpet on a certain level. But then one day they came along and said, "Hey man, listen, we got somebody else we want to introduce you to." So I said, "So, okay, who are they talking about?" These guys brought over some Coltrane.
Ooh.
I said, "Now I ain't being funny, but I need to drop my axe and put my axe down, because I've just never heard, again, because my mother didn't play that kind of music,
Right.
heard of Coltrane or anything like that." And then, these guys was like, yeah, man, you got to hear these guys, Bird and stuff like that. And, you got to understand this form of playing if you really want to play jazz on a certain level.
Right.
So I started to listen and play by ear because I never, uh, like my brother and them, they actually wind up, being formally taught how to play music. Never
Hmm.
was formally taught. So everything I play is strictly from my ear. Still, even to
Right.
this day, I I probably maybe can play the C major scale, maybe,
Right.
So but that was always I felt like my blessing sort of like was I wasn't sort of like locked into you know, sort of like whatever I was, hearing, from reading music and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like they would tell me a lot of times saying, yeah, man, they say, man, it's like I'm kind of jealous of you because it's like what you playing and you playing like you hear, whatever you hear and you can mimic these guys. They would have to have it written out on paper for them to,
Right.
okay, I can feel where it's going and stuff. And they say you just like listen to it and going from there. So, that's sort of like was one of the things that I kind of got into was developing my ear
So you are not formally trained. You just play by ear.
strictly by ear. Yes, strictly by ear.
I don't get how you do that. I am not a musician in any stretch of the matter. We've been joined by the third member of the group. You can't see him, but he is down here looking at me. At some point, he might peek up and look at you, but Brody is in the room.
That
Um,
I say hello.
and if I can just keep him calm.
I know what you said.
Uh,
Go ahead.
um, so, was there any Miles Davis in your influence?
Yes, yes, yes. Miles, and it's funny that you mentioned Miles out of all of the trumpet players that I'm gonna tell you, Miles was a big influence, but the problem Miles kind of got in the way because some of the way he started to express himself later
Yes,
with the
yes,
trumpet became almost like because I've seen Miles in concert.
yes.
And it's a different than when Miles was doing like all blues and stuff like that, and
Right,
other tracks that that was different feel to it than that. So I kind of still stuck with those kind of feels between, like I said, the Clifford Brown,
hmm,
stuff like that that gave me more of the traditional sound because like I say, Miles towards, a certain point, he sort of like was, and don't get me wrong, I used to listen at a whole lot of those songs, but I didn't quite understand it.
I can
No
thoroughly
lie.
understand.
I tried, and God knows I did because I love all kind of music. It's just that I couldn't follow sort of like where he was going with it to
Right,
enough to be to play it. Because after all, if you're a musician and you're spending a lot of your time listening to someone, you would become more like that.
right. Yes.
Even if you're a trumpet player and you listen to a lot of saxophone players, man, you're gonna start to mimic that saxophone player,
Okay.
that style, that feel. You know what I'm saying? And I never forget when I used to look at some stuff by Art Blakey.
Mm,
And I started to understand why Art Blakey, you know, branched off with so many different musicians, because he got a chance to, and that's sort of like what I mimicked. Every song I have probably at least two to three different people improvise
okay.
songs, and sometimes even four different musicians because I wanted to kind of like keep that Art Blakey feel with inside the music, even though it's temporary jazz. I still wanted to not feel like you just sort of like have one person that's improvising and there's a whole variety of instruments that I think should be in.
It's kind of like As much as I love the record, Miles Davis' Bitches Brew, I keep going. There's five different musicians on one song, and they're all playing their own tune. But that's how it goes. All right, let's take a listen to something that you've done, some music that you've played. Let's listen to, and I think this title is appropriate to the conversation right now. This is called Far, Far Away by Melvin Pierce.
My favorite.
That is Far, Far Away by Melvin Pierce, our guest today on the Jazz Flyte Podcast. Melvin, I want to get to this plumbing thing.
Okay.
I find it remarkable. This is two full-time jobs.
Yes.
How do you carve out rehearsal time, recording time, and then all of a sudden somebody calls and goes, "I got a plumbing problem," and it's not that you're gone for like 5 or 10 minutes. It could take a while. How do you manage your time to do all of this?
It's okay. It's interesting. That's a good question because a lot of times I don't even know how myself, but I will explain to you the best that I think what happens within a period of a day. So which a lot of people don't know. Okay, first of all, the name of my company is Adventure Plumbing, and we are 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Jeez. Mm, mm,
That's the start out with. So
mm.
within 24 hours, 7 days a week, I still manage to uh, take care of the household, which is, going out, doing plumbing every day, doing music every day, helping friends with their studio stuff, shooting some video stuff, working on videos and stuff like that. Uh, and still, playing the piano, which is learning to play the piano now, and also still dealing with the trumpet and other things. So within that 24 hours, I'm thinking normally if I can get about at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep, which is a lot of people are not finding that many hours.
Right?
But this is how I divide it down. I figure as long as I get up at least by 6 in the morning, I can go in my studio, work for 2 hours to 3 hours, perhaps before someone calls. So that's maybe put me around at 8 o'clock. So if no one calls me by 9 or 10 o'clock to go to work, to go out there do plumbing, then I keep working on my craft. I just stay working. Someone calls me and I'm out for 6, 7 hours and I come home. So now if I'm home at like about 5, 6 o'clock, that's family time now.
Right.
I won't even go back to the studio. But if I get home by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I'll go back down in the studio and start working again for about 2 to 3 hours. If not, sometime 5, 6, till I feel like it should be family time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I'll go, because my wife loves to look at basketball. I've never played sports in my life in my household. That was never on I mean, my mother would have ice skating and ballet, certain things that she loved to do. But once
Right.
we had a TV in our bedroom, we never seen that stuff. We
Mm-hmm.
had cowboy movies and stuff like that on
Right. Yes.
going on. But we did not deal with that, that basketball, football, holiday, baseball, any of that. So I married someone who family came, her father played a little pro football, played in college and stuff like that. So she was always into sports real heavy. Plus, she was the only grandkid for many years. So
Right.
they like a boy, like make you do like go to all the
Mm-hmm.
baseball and go to the basketball games and everything else. And even though my wife cheered and stuff like that at Tuskegee and done girl things, but her parents, because of so long that she was just still sort of like the only child, they made her did a lot of that. So what I find myself doing is actually loving basketball, baseball, football, all of these things now. I'm talking about I can talk to you about the games now. And prior to me meeting her, I couldn't tell you anything about other than touchdown. I know
Right.
or
Know
the
the touchdown is.
but watching before just to give you a little bit, even prior to this here, what you think was real busy, we had 7 AAU basketball teams.
What?
I ran. I was the president. They made someone like me the president of the company who didn't know nothing about sports.
Mm, mm,
They
mm.
felt like I was a good businessman. They felt like, hey, you know how to manage money. You don't mess money up. We never saw you sitting out there worrying about this, worrying about that. So you know how to manage money well. So we'll make you president over the company. So we had all these AAU basketball teams that I used to have to worry and wonder about, and still come into the studio and do this music.
So is this is just my brain? Are there any of your songs that are related to sports? Is there do you get inspiration from watching the kids play, from watching this? For titles of your songs, I'm always amazed at the titles that you musicians come up with. To me, I'm thinking you could do a high five, you could do 3 point. Where does the inspiration for the music come from?
Okay, now that's funny. Okay, the first CD, The Journey, that was when that's when everybody was kind of like going through a whole lot. It was changing presidency and all kind of other stuff was going on in the world. And I was like, you know what? You know, I kind of like I saw something that was sort of like was real interesting that was going on around me at the time. We had an influx of people that was moving into Atlanta because of the economy.
Right.
So a whole lot of the jazz musicians that was coming in from other states moved here. And then, and I started to connect because at this particular time, so you can understand, I had a recording studio, a full-fledged
Hmm.
recording studio. So I used to record groups and stuff like that in bands, and I knew a lot of people that was coming in. So I was like, you know what? I wouldn't mind doing a CD. And guess what I called it? The Journey.
Hmm. Mm.
That was the very first CD. So the journey was basically all these musicians that was transitioning over from all these other parts of the country. Because even the saxophone player, he came from I think Jamaica or Trinidad, one or the other. But anyway, to make a long story short, that was sort of like the journey. So that gave me to name the actual CD. Then the second CD, which was called something, my mind went blank on the name of my second CD. But anyway, that second CD, Something to Remember. My bad. Something to Remember was the name of the
Hmm.
CD. So when I came out with Something to Remember, it was basically 2008.
Okay.
The economy went,
Okay.
and everybody was, look, hustling, bustling, trying to figure out where they fit in on life and trying to figure out how to pay their bills and
Hmm.
kind of other stuff was going on, and I was like, oh my God, man, this is bananas. So I called it that. The other 14 CDs that followed after that, all of those CDs was done during the pandemic. And my job, I felt like God blessed me with quite a bit of money. So I called up all those musicians that you hearing on all those songs, like some of the ones that you'll be playing, if you wouldn't mind playing a couple, for the audience.
Hmm.
And those CDs was sort of like, because there was so many of my friends, and I don't want to say it this way, but I'm gonna say what took place. Okay.
Hmm.
The church was no longer paying these musicians.
Right.
So what I felt like God gave me enough money to be able to not haggle and argue with these guys because I know they have bills and stuff. So they would come in and sometime put down six songs, 10 songs in about 2 hours, easily. And the guitar player, now he would sometimes stay probably about 7 hours because he was playing rhythm and
Hmm.
multiple parts of rhythm and all kind of other stuff that took up a whole lot more time than like maybe the drummer or
Right.
keyboard player and stuff like that, or vocalist. So that's what I did. I just went on and so that's how those 14 CDs came through through a year and a half. It took us to do all those songs. 14.
Okay. Let's take a moment to listen to something else that you've done. Once again, an appropriate title for the subject we're talking about. Let's listen to This Afternoon by Melvin Pierce on the Jazz Flyte Podcast. This Afternoon by Melvin Pierce on the Jazz Flyte Podcast. This is Darrell Scott. Melvin, 14 albums, doing plumbing work. You've done an awful lot of stuff. What's on the horizon for now? What are you working on now? We're not going to talk about plumbing. We're going to talk about music. What do you have a new CD, new album coming out? Do you have a new single coming out? What's going on?
Okay, right now I just released, which should be every month. I started on meditation music. So I released 200 songs of meditation music.
Wait 1 second. Hang on. Not two,
None of it is AI. All of it is me recording.
200 songs.
Yes, it's 200. It's meditation, it's guided meditation. And guided meditation is when you have somebody that's guiding you through those moments. And then also I have the regular meditation music. And it's on Spotify and different other outlets and stuff like that. I released it through CD Baby. And for your audience, just I'm gonna give you a little education on how I see releasing music, because all my friends, they all want to call me a genius and say, "Hey man, we trying to release one CD in 2 3 years. You turn
Right?
and release 14 CDs, which is
Right.
oh, yeah,
How do you
CD.
do that?
Yes. And then now you just released 200 songs and you got it you got it. So what I did, I went through CD Baby because Distro Kid, who I have all of my music, who I really went through, I went through CD Baby. So going through CD Baby, they also collect your royalty and send your music to these different other outlets. So with CD Baby, they allow you to actually do meditation music. They're about one of the few that will, can actually take your meditation music and send it around the world. So that's why I chose CD Baby. And with choosing CD Baby, what I like about what they do is they not only collect your royalties, they can give you your codes for your albums or CDs or singles. You can also go on their website that tells you how to create all your artwork and everything, what format to put it in and everything. And then it makes it so simple for you to put all of this information in there. And then they just go out and go get the money for you wherever your stuff is being played at. Because I was already getting money from CD Baby because of the journey and something to remember, because that's where I released those two albums through them first, because CD Baby was my best outlet. I didn't know about DistroKid and some of the other outlets that allow you to actually will place your music and stuff on these different streams and everything. So I released, like I said, 200 songs
Jesus
of
Christ.
meditation
Oh
music.
my
And
God.
every month till July, I will have 10 songs being released. And I started releasing it about maybe 6 months ago, 7 months ago, whenever.
We have to talk further about that. An idea came to my head that I don't necessarily want to talk about now because I got to get permission from the person, so to speak. Um, so if you're doing 200 songs, I'm thinking you're doing your own jazz CD, and I still go back to the plumbing. With, and you get 8 hours of sleep a night?
Yes, and sometimes 9, 10, my wife tells me because I go to bed during the ball games a lot of times, especially like yesterday. I looked at New York play. I don't even know who won the game. So
Uh,
I looked
I,
at this basketball game and I fell asleep. And then I woke up about 3 in the morning. I stayed up for about an hour, just thinking and meditating. And then I went back to sleep, of course, till 6 o'clock in the morning. Yes.
there's a longer conversation that we got to have at another point in time. There is because I
My
am one of those people that I don't necessarily need a lot of sleep because I have a lot of stuff going on. But you make the stuff that I have to do make it look minuscule, and you look fresh, you look energetic. I'm sure there's some dietary things that you do, some health things that you do.
Let me tell you what my true secret is. I'll,
I'm
I'll,
listening.
I'll put all everything in God's hands when I touch it. So that means a lot of times I don't even know I'm there, just to be truthfully honest with you. And I found that out as a young kid when I um, used to hang out with my friends and I would listen to some of the things that they would be talking about, and I would space out and go somewhere else. And then they'll tap me and say, "Man, you wasn't even listening to me." It's because I start to zone into other dimensions or other areas. It sounds crazy, but we all do it in a sense. It's just some of us don't include God in enough of it.
Hmm.
So which means some of it is going to get left out, or you're not able to get as much done because you didn't include the most highs. And it's just keeping it real. My wife tells me that all the time. I don't understand how, first of all, we got customers who tells my son and I, how can you guys did something in 15 minutes that I didn't have two other plumbers at my house all day and they still didn't figure it out. And you guys did it in like 15 minutes. Well, they don't know who I'm bringing along. They have no clue who I'm
Hmm.
carrying. And I make sure that that does not change no matter what I do in life. So I don't touch a job without prayer first. I don't touch nobody's plumbing. I ask God to go everywhere that I go so that I don't miss a beat or I don't miss the boat. Or like some people do, they get hung up on things because they're carrying too much of themselves.
Hmm.
And we as people, we need to get back to some of the basics of releasing some of it. I'm not saying that God is making my hands, move to the plumbing, even though
Right.
technically it is happening that way because
Right.
after all, I can be talking to you today and I have proof of this because I was talking to a good friend of mine's and then 2 days later, he's gone. Completely healthy person, having a good conversation with him, man. Massive heart attack.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, this is a further conversation. So, how can we keep up with all the musical things that you're doing? I'm willing to bet you'll go and get a couple of calls about plumbing from this show. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, as
But
long as
from a musical standpoint, how can we follow you?
you can easily follow me just by typing in Melvin Pierce.
Okay.
Yep, Melvin Pierce. If you type in Melvin Pierce anywhere, at one time, I guess I'm not that familiar with the terms of internet stuff, but I think it's the algorithm or whatever they call it.
Yeah, algorithm.
So,
Yes.
yeah, at one time, I mean, I used to type in Melvin Pierce and ain't nothing used to show up on me.
Right.
Now you can just type in Melvin Pierce and maybe because of so much music is actually out there and because of the
Right.
company and everything, because we get, man, a whole lot of Google reviews for our plumbing and all that kind of stuff like that, and and then all of a sudden you got all of this music that's out there. So it automatic says, oh, Melvin Pierce, and all you got to do is just type in Melvin Pierce, and it just pops up all over the place, including the meditation music now.
This is gonna sound really odd, but I'm gonna get you some work. Don't get mad at me, but I'm gonna get you some work. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank Melvin Pierce for being a guest on our show. I, I'm not going to publicize anything. This is his show. This is all about him. I greatly appreciate the time. We've been through a lot of hurdles to get this done, but now having listened to you, we'll be in further touch. Keep in mind, if you come up with any new music, meditation music, jazz music, let us know so we can put it on our social media so we can help each other out. Melvin, I greatly appreciate this. I've learned so much in the last 35 minutes. This will be good. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm Darrell Scott. As always, we will talk to you next week. And if you wish to subscribe, just hit the button at the end of the show, and you'll get more great content like we had with this gentleman. Melvin, once again, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it.
And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I hope you enjoy these stories and soulful melodies that grew through the doors of time. If you want to stay connected with the latest updates and episodes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Darrell Scott.